Hello again and welcome back. Welcome to Chapter 4 in this Trove modding guide. My name is Potato Unicorn and we are back today with learning about, as you can see in the overview, we'll be learning file types, we'll be learning grabbing the files that we need before we want to turn them into something that we can use in a voxel program and yeah, showing you that conversion. So yeah, absolutely. Let's just jump into it. So let's just explain the file types that we'll be using in this sort of segment first. So as you know, in part 1, I have amazing MS Paint skills. So let's just jump into it. Okay, so here we go. I've made a little infograph for you guys. It's not great, it's not perfect, but it does the job. So we'll just get straight into it with the .tmod. As you know, if you've been following, a .tmod file is used in the mods folder, and basically what the .tmod does is it's a file type that Trove the game recognizes as a mod. So it allows it to have the support of the in-game mod loader menu, which allows you to just toggle the mod on and off. So if you want a skin on a dragon and then suddenly go, I want to spend some time without it, you can turn that and disable it, and it will do that. And basically the tmod holds basically compacts the blueprint files when we actually make our tmod. We just put the blueprint files into the tool, and that goes into the tmod. So it's basically just holding all those. And with that, we'll just jump straight onto the .blueprint. So with the .blueprints, it's the main file type that we'll be handling in our extracted Trove files, and also with our overrides. So the .blueprints are the file types that we put in our override folders that we made in Chapter 1. And basically, that's the file type that they understand and allow to view in-game. And it's just the main one they use in the Trove game. So, as you can see, you know, we use the blueprint files in the creation of our final tmod, so keep that in mind. But the blueprint and the .qb files, as below, are basically the same thing. We just convert between the two depending on what we need. So with the .qb files, they're the main files that work with our voxel editor programs. So those .qb files are parts, in a sense. So every costume has parts, like the left foot, the shin, the knee, you know, the arm, the body. A .qb file is that, you know, you can have like left foot .qb. The names are a little longer than that for the file types, but you get the gist of it. And those are used in the voxel. And then to the right, we've got the .qbcl. These are for cubicle, and only cubicle, I believe. I don't know if they work with the other voxel programs, but these are basically project files, right? So when you want to save in cubicle, and say I built my Neon Ninja costume, like I put all the parts together, and before I edit it, I want to save it all without just saving every QB file, even though that won't do anything because I'll have to just put it all together again. So what I choose to do is I go and click on the save or save as in cubicle, and it'll give me the option to save it as a QBCL, or it defaults to that option, and I can save the entire project. So I won't need to do that again, and I can just come back to it. It's all built, it's all ready. Any edits I've done, you know, it stays. You can come back to it depending on where you saved. And you should save all the time, obviously, but absolutely great and useful if you're using Cubicle. It's a core part of how you use it. And so with that, with the sort of just basic overview of the file types, we will get into grabbing the files that we actually need for our project. So with that, we'll be using both the extracted folder and just a sort of example from Trovesaurus, the website. So we will just grab a look in at Trovesaurus. As you know, Trovesaurus is a database, so you just go up here to the left, click, and go to collections, especially if you want to sort of mod mounts, costumes, you know, all sorts of other stuff. And you just want to come down here, and we're just going to choose the Neon Ninja because it's easy, and it's kind of in the middle. It's not too many parts, but it's not a lot. So we'll just run down to Neon Ninja. There it is. And there's our level 10 Neon Ninja. So what we'll do is we'll just click on that, And this is the main page, but what we want to go to is the mod info right here. And this basically gives us a detailed list of all the parts in the mod and all the names of those parts. Now, it's extremely useful, especially when you want to search for them, because Trove has an interesting file name scheme. But you sort of pick up on the scheme, the file naming scheme, as you mod and get into all this stuff. Just before we jump into the parts and the file types, if you remember, we talked about the QCBL files, the cubicle file, or the QB, yeah, the QBCL. So down here at the bottom of the web page, there's a part set for the QBCL, and basically what this is as we talked about, you know, you can build the model. So say I build the entire level 10 Neon Ninja costume, and I save the QBCL, and let's say I can upload it here. So I choose the file, I upload the completed costume, so people can just download this, and bang, it's there in front of them, and they can just get right into modding. I can do that. But sadly, it looks like we are not getting that easy road. So, let's start collecting the files that we need. So as you can see, the blueprints can be obtained just by clicking on the blueprints next to the names. We can do that. There's also an option for Troxel, so basically you can open them in the Troxel editor and just do them in there, but we're staying away from that because I personally don't know Troxel and I don't know anything about it. As we discussed, I didn't really learn using that. So let's just grab, let's say the torso, let's just grab the blueprint for the torso, and let's go to our live folder and keep this smart. So let's use that folder structure that we made before. So let's go into our modding folder, and let's go into costumes, and let's go into the Neon Ninja, and then let's call this tutorial project. And then let's go, oh, this is version 1, and then it's a blueprint file, so let's just call it blueprint or BP. Let's just call it blueprint, and we just want to save that. So there we go, we got the blueprint file. Good stuff. That's one way to do it. Another way is to search the extracted folder, as you know. So if on the off chance that for some reason like this blueprint button isn't here, or anything of the type, we can just grab, let's just grab the middle part, because that's the main identifier of all the parts and it's consistent with all the rest. Let's just grab Neon Ninja level 2, let's just copy that. Let's just go to our file explorer. Let's just go to the live folder. Let's go to our extracted folder, go up here, and just paste that in and search. Now what we'll get is a full list of all the extracted parts for the Neon Ninja. So we want these, right? So you just have to be careful, because if you let's just open up the Neon Ninja costume project. Let's go version 1, go to blueprints. If you saved your modding folder sort of structure in the same drive as the extracted folder, you can't just drag and drop, you have to copy these. So let's just do that, because you'll end up moving them and you'll cause some errors. So let's just go this, and don't pick up the binfab or the UI. Those are a bit more advanced to edit, and we're just keeping this basic beginner stuff, so just don't grab those for now. And just grab the rest of these. So let's right click and copy them. Let's go over here and paste them, and there should be a replace, and that's fine. That's just the torso, because we did select the torso. And now we've got all the blueprints. So good stuff. So now let's say we've got the blueprints, but how are we going to get them into the voxel editor? Well, we can go to here, go back to our live, and you do remember the dev tools that we talked about earlier. Well, it's time to use those. So there's 4 dev tools, and you'll mainly only be using, during this guide, these 2. Which is DevTool Convert to Blueprint and DevTool basically Convert to QB. So what we want, of course, is convert to QB. So let's grab all of these, and there is a max amount to these conversions. So let's say I wanted to, I have like 60 files, right? I've worked on a big project, I've edited all of them, or I want to work on a big project and there's a massive amount of blueprint files. There probably won't be, but it's probably the opposite. So QB to blueprint is the most common occurrence of this. So let's say I've got like 60 edited files of this big project and I want to convert them all at the same time. I can't because there's a limit on how many you can convert. I believe it's like 40 to 50. I wouldn't really stress test it to that degree. It won't do anything. But if you've ever seen a command line, basically it'll just open and close instantly. And that's how you tell it didn't work. So how to tell if it does work, so let's just convert these. So let's drag it onto convert to QB, which is DevTool Dungeon Blueprint to QB. Don't worry about the dungeon part, that's just there. And let's just drop it on. Okay, now if you remember, we made that QB export, and how I said that a certain file type will need that because it exports to that folder. Well, that's where we're going to need it. So if we go into QB export there, we've got all our extracted parts. All of them. And I know you're thinking, wow, that's a lot more parts than we put into the extractor, and you're right. So what these have is the entity blueprints. We don't need those. Those are quite useless to us in the modding endeavor. But what we do need is just the main QB file. So you see these files here with the underscores at the end. It's got underscore AST, and that's consistent for the rest of these files. So all we need is the main file without those extra attachments. But those are material maps, and we'll be getting into those later, but for now all we need is the main QB file. So just go down and make sure to grab the main QB files. Foot and shin, shoulder, thigh, and torso. And then all we want to do is just, I'll go back and I'll make a QB folder, so let's just grab those and let's just move them all into that folder. And great, that's done. You can really delete the rest because we're not going to use the material maps of the original design. Great. So now we've got our QB files and we can put them into our voxel editor, and that is great. So with there, we'll stop, and the next part will be introducing those files to the voxel editor. But quickly before we go, in the future, if you are concerned about where to place them, there is a model viewer in Trovesaurus, which we'll be using hopefully in the future videos to make sure we have them in the right place. But it basically just shows you where each part is supposed to go. So let's say I don't know where the foot's supposed to go because this is a very small piece on the Neon Ninja set, and it goes right here, and you can line it up with the blocks and look around and see it and go, oh, okay, so that's where it's supposed to go, and just easily slide it in. And you can just you can check block by block, like, oh, you know, the shoulder might be up too high and it might cause issues with my modding later down the line. And there's also a rotate, and that just slowly moves it. You can still drag it, but yep. Apart from that, yep, absolutely. Okay, next part we will be getting into the actual voxel editing stuff. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next part.